So, did a reset on my phone. Hopefully it fixed the microphone issue. If it didn't, we will resolve to do better next time. Quick poll of the audience. Can you hear me? Signal quality, go in the chat. Morning deal, Hemingway. By the way, for all the noobs, I'm Bear with BearIndependent.com. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe, ring the bell icon. You're going to need this information as the world continues to fall apart. 4x4. Oh, well. 5x5 is good. 4x4 is fun, though. All right, good. Lois and clear. I think you meant loud, Ryan, but roger that. Thank you, everybody. Good morning. Bear Independent Brief, 15 June 22. Let's do some quick recap. Bear Independent Intel. This is intel that was sent in by y'all. Shalom, Kyle, and what's up, brother? No puking while on mission, Kyle. No puking while on mission. Intel at bearindependent.com is where you send your intel. What is intel? It's not watch this video or read this article. It's stuff you've seen with your own eyes, stuff you've heard with your own ears. That's what I want to know, okay? Shalom the Greek homestead. That's intel. Intel at bearindependent.com. Feed the dance monkeys with your delicious intel nuggets. That's how they stay alive, and we don't want them to die. They die, no brief. It's very rough. Bear Independent Intel, June 10th, 5 days ago. Quote, Union Pacific has informed Pilot Flying J, huge truck stops, that they are required to cut fuel shipments by rail 26% to Pilot Flying J. They went on to ask in subsequent conversations if Pilot Flying J could cut their orders by 50% or face embargoes. Diesel is about to climb through the roof, end quote. Bear Independent Intel, June 14th, yesterday, quote, there's a major diesel shortage. Now, I'm not talking about high gas prices here. I'm talking about logistical issues. So hang with me here if this seems like old news to you, because we're going to talk about this. Quote, there's a major diesel shortage. There have been trucks sitting on the side of the road for 2 to 3 days waiting for diesel delivery. Apparently, it's so bad that I've been waiting a week for a trainer because there's not enough diesel, end quote. Now, many of y'all are aware that I have been involved in disaster relief. We're going to get back to the brief in a moment. But I've been involved in disaster relief since Hurricane Katrina. As a private citizen, as a FEMA contractor, and with our ministry, Grindstone Ministries. I have personally seen, on many an occasion, semi-trucks full of perishable food that have sat for so long waiting to be inspected that the contents rotted. During the spin-up for the relief on Hurricane Katrina in Daytona, Florida, there was one truck stop that had 1,000 semi-trucks that each were being paid $1,000 per day. So that's 1,000 times 1,000 is $1 million. So $1 million a day of your taxpayer money for these trucks to sit while FEMA waited to distribute those trucks full of perishable foods to the victims of the storm. Those trucks sat there for 30 days. So that's $30 million in taxpayer money paid for them to sit, to say nothing of the fact that all of the produce and all of the food that was on those trucks cost millions and millions and millions of dollars. And by the time that food was distributed to where it was supposed to go, air quote, per FEMA, to save the poor people that were hit by the storm, it was a bunch of rotten garbage, literally. So I said this at the Self-Reliance Expo this past weekend, and I'll say it again. They, the big they, they're not coming to save you. They're not coming to enslave you. They're not coming. And if you're dependent upon them for your logistical resupply, it ain't gonna happen. They're very, very bad at their job. That's why I don't work for FEMA anymore. Plus, it's an absolute pain in the neck to work for FEMA. We found that we can be much more effective as private citizens working through our own ministry than to work alongside FEMA. They're not very good. But you see the point here. So How many of these trucks are sitting there waiting for diesel that are loaded full of perishable food that's going to exacerbate the existing food supply issues? Back to the brief. Diesel and gasoline have just hit all-time highs. This is affecting the entire system. From Louisiana shrimpers to Pennsylvania farmers, everyone is having a hard time sustaining their businesses. Truckers have warned that the price of diesel is a serious threat to the U.S. supply chain, with some taking loads at a loss. Anecdotally, I was doing a thing last week, not while I was in Tennessee, before I was in Tennessee, and there was a trucking company that was doing an orientation for new drivers. They were laid up at a hotel waiting to receive their semis, and myself and another brother engaged in myriad conversations with these people. And a recurring theme amongst these drivers who were hiring onto this new trucking company was that many of them had been owner-operators, and they stopped driving their own rigs because they can't afford the diesel. One driver in 1 week paid over $4,500 for diesel in a week. It's $18,000 in a month for diesel just to run his own rig. If you don't think that that cost is not going to trickle down, it does. It's part of why, combined with the weakening of the US dollar, this controlled crash landing of the US economy, you will own nothing and like it, says our favorite supervillain Klaus Schwab. It's part of why everything is costing so much right now. But unfortunately, I think much like the beginning stages of the Charlie Victor 19er, where it didn't matter how much money you had, you couldn't buy certain things. I think we're going to get to that point where scarcity is going to turn into flat out unavailability on certain items. And my biggest fear for you, I'm not afraid of it because we've been doing the things for years and years and years. But my biggest fear for you is that there's things that you need that you don't have right now that you're not going to be able to get. We're going to talk about some of those things a little bit later on in the brief, some of those things that are constitutionally protected as a God-given right for the perpetuation of freedom and security of a free state. Back to the brief. In one viral post, the owner of Iron River Express, Austin Smith, wrote, quote, "If something drastic doesn't change in the next few weeks or months, I promise you'll see empty shelves everywhere you look. You'll see chaos as people fight for the basic necessities of everyday life." End quote. Yeah, remember when people were punching each other over Charmin a couple years ago? Now imagine that's bread. That could never happen in America. It's happening. Adjust your OODA loop. And many of y'all have asked, what is OODA loop? Why do you keep saying that? OODA, Oscar, Oscar, Delta, Alpha. Observe, orient, decide, act. It's an ongoing, constant decision-making process that you should be running. The first thing you do is you observe something, you see it. I see that this door is open. Now I need to orient on the fact that it's open. I need to acknowledge that it's open. Okay, yep, there it is. The truth is this door is open. Now I need to decide what I'm going to do about it. I'm going to close the door. Actually, I'm not, because there's a broody hen who's laid eggs in there and we want her to hatch those babies out. I know, Oklahoma's finest outhouse. And then I need to act. I need to do something based upon the observations, the orientation, the decision, the course of action that I've decided on. Then I need to act. Then I actually need to execute on the problem and go over there and close the door. And the issue for many of y'all, many Americans, many people around the world right now, is they're observing what is happening, but they haven't truly oriented on the fact that it's real. This is happening. People keep saying, when the balloon goes up, homeboy, it's in the air. It's been up for a long time. It's been up for years. February 2019, anybody? The balloon is up. How much more up do you want it to get before it blindsides you? So you observe it, you see it. Now you need to orient on the fact that it's real. It's happening. Then you need to decide what you're going to do about it. What courses of action are you going to take to mitigate the effects of the fact that this thing has happened? And then you need to act, and then you need to do it. You need to execute on those courses of action. So adjust your OODA loop. Stop simply observing, start orienting on the problem so that you can address it. You can decide what you're going to do and you can act on it. I see somebody gave us a super chat. Let's see, who was that? Snorlord. A lot of owner-operators are going out or cashing out, just like other small businesses. Yes, incredibly unfortunate, but you are correct. So, back to the brief. Quote, if something drastic doesn't change in the next few weeks or months, I promise you, you'll see empty shelves everywhere you look. You'll see chaos as people fight for the basic necessities of everyday life. End quote. Increased diesel prices directly impact the livelihood of the lifeblood of America, trucking. If trucking becomes more expensive, everything becomes more expensive. What else is the cost of gas doing to the system? Multiple people within the Bear Nation have noted that companies have either lost workers or are failing to gain badly needed workers because the enormous price of gas is making the commute untenable. Ultimately, it's taking tolls on lives and livelihoods alike. Hospitals have noted more ill people are missing important appointments for the same reason. Neurosurgeon Dr. Randolph Bishop said in an interview on Fox News, quote, I'd heard a lot of stories from patients that were really unable to make it to their appointments just because they can't afford the cost of a round trip of gas. So for instance, patients that are coming for cardiac care, neurosurgery, or cancer care usually require multiple trips back and forth to see the doctor, end quote. So, what is this an indicator of? Rome is burning, the decline of the American empire. Again, orient on the fact that I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. I like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I like freedom and the way of Americans. I'm all for all of that stuff. We're not there anymore. We haven't been there for some time. And we can pine over what used to be, we can pontificate on what should be, or we can orient on the fact of what is. How are we going to fix it? Man, if you're not strong in your home and your community, don't say a word to me about fixing the country. Okay? If your poop is not in a group where you live right now, if you can't lead the people you already have, how are you going to fix the country? So we heard for years, we're going to make America great again. No, you need to make your household great again. It's not a top-down approach, it's a bottom-up approach. And we've talked about this ad nauseum on this channel. Strong men make strong households. Strong households make strong communities. Strong communities make strong cities and towns. Strong cities and towns make strong counties. Strong counties make strong states make strong regions, and strong regions make a strong country. But it begins with you in your home, with headship, leadership, stewardship. And if you're not executing on those three things every day, because it's the reason the Father made you, read Genesis chapter 2. The job of man is to rule and subdue. Work the garden and guard it. If you're not working this thing and guarding this thing, if you're not ruling and subduing in partnership with him, you are shirking your responsibility as a man. So shut the hell up about fixing the country when you can't fix yourself. Another medical impact of the price of fuel could have life or death consequences for some, according to this piece of intel sent to Bear Independent. Again, intel@bearindependent.com. Quote, I work for a fire department in the Cincinnati tri-state area. Thursday, 10 June 22, our department received an email from our EMS chief informing us that we can no longer get Versed. This is like a major medicine administered in pre-hospital care during a medevac situation. We can no longer get Versed from the local hospitals for an unknown amount of time. An additional note was added to the email saying, and Versed is used if you have people with uncontrollable shaking, if you have people who are experiencing seizures. It can also be used for pain management. It has a lot of applications. It can be used for pediatric patients, for elderly patients. I wouldn't call it a wonder drug, but it's absolutely a backbone of pre-hospital care. An additional note was added to the email saying, quote, airway and diesel may soon be the only medicine, meaning that fast transportation time management may be the extent of our field capabilities given the current trend of supplies. This comes after more than a year of local departments struggling to acquire supplies in adequate amounts, if at all. Now, I'm not trying to be the ShamWow guy, but I've been telling you guys since February 24th, 22, when Russia felt froggy and took their battalion tactical groups, 175,000 men across their border into Ukraine. Hey, things are going to get more difficult to get, including medical gear. I've been encouraging you, if not absconding you, for the last, 4 months or so. If you don't have medical equipment, get it. It's going to get hard to get. Our company, Refuge Medical, is in direct competition with the Defense Logistics Agency, which is a sub-branch of the Department of Defense for medical equipment. That's an indicator. I've discussed that over and over and over again. That's an indicator. A, that if you don't have the stuff, you should get the stuff. Or if you need more stuff, get more stuff. B, we, the United States, big we, is building towards a potential war for certain in Eastern Europe and possibly in the Indo-Pacific region. DLA, Defense Logistics Agency, is buying up everything that it can buy. This is insider information from me that I'm sharing to you because we live it every day. And now here's an ambulance corps in the Cincinnati area that's also working as a second witness for that, because in the mouths of 2 or 3 let a thing be established, right? They've been unable to get supplies reliably for the last year. You think that's going to get better or worse as time drags on? They can't get basic medications used to perform pre-hospital care. Decline of an empire. What does this mean for you? You need to be as self-sufficient, self-reliant, take as much personal responsibility as possible, because they, the system, are incapable. Forget whether or not they want to. They are incapable of saving you. They're not coming to save you. They're not coming to enslave you. And this is taking nothing away from the good men and women who wear the uniform every day, whether it's fire, law enforcement, EMS, etc., who show up, they support the Constitution, they're there to serve their constituency and do a good job for the people in the community where they live and work. That's awesome. But they are limited by the same constraints that we are. They can't get the stuff they need to do their job. And what does an ambulance run on? Diesel. We've just been talking about diesel. It's kind of a thing right now. This continues to be reported on here because the problem is rapidly growing worse and is currently at a very fragile point. This is not a maybe someday in the future this might be a problem deal. This nation appears to be teetering on the brink of true scarcity, and even more extreme inflation at this point, among others, continue to swell out of control. Yeah, inflation. Fed Chair Jerome Powell gonna have to, looking like he's gonna have to raise the interest rates. And if he does, and if the big they, do that in such a way that is anything more than the gentlest, the smallest amount possible incrementally, it has the actual potential to crash the US stock market and therefore the economy. Indicator, huge economic indicator. Now, if you're on Patreon, you have the links to this. If you're not on Patreon, you don't. Huge shout out to the patrons. It's $5 a month. It's the best $5 you can spend on the internet. The video that posted this morning on Patreon, and Patreon only, is a video titled, What If We're Wrong? What if we're wrong about all this prep and stuff? And I don't think we are. But what if we are? And I delve deeply into that topic on this morning's video on Patreon. So go check it out. There's a link in the description, as always. I wanted to talk briefly, before we get into how to support the show, about a concept that I've been bringing to light more and more and more lately. Resistance versus resilience. There's a lot of people on both sides of the aisle right now that are working diligently to strip you of your God-given constitutionally protected rights. This is not a surprise. They've been doing this for years, decades. But they're getting closer and closer and closer to being able to perform their ultimate goal of diminishing your Second Amendment rights to the point where they no longer matter. If you remember back for the last 2 years, 2.5 years, all of the tyranny that took place, and is in some places still taking place, in places like China, Australia, Germany, other parts of Europe, Canada. How many citizens did we hear from? How many people in the bare nation wrote into us globally saying, Americans, no matter what you do, no matter what you do, never give up your firearms. Never give them up. How many people have lamented that they allowed themselves to be disarmed, and now their tyrannical governments can do whatever they want to them? As for me and my house, not happening. Now we are blessed with an excellent sheriff and an excellent sheriff's department. So one might have to ask oneself, if door-to-door confiscation was going to take place, who would enforce that? The sheriff's department. We are blessed with a good sheriff and a good sheriff's department. They're great guys, great girls. We know those people. We appreciate them. What about where you live? Will they ever go door to door? Not around here, they won't. The cost-benefit analysis is too great. There's not enough people. There's not enough law enforcement officers. Logistically, it's a nightmare. And 1 or 2 or 3 of those confiscations go bad, all of a sudden, again, those good men and women in uniform lose the ambition, if they ever had it in the first place, to enact and enforce that unconstitutional order. But elsewhere, we've already seen it in Boston, in Katrina, or in Louisiana after Katrina. So, one might want to consider, where do you live? What implications does that have for you? Additionally, for years, millions of people, including tens of thousands of people at this channel, have pontificated back and forth about Republicans versus Democrats. And I have always told you the same thing. A, I hate politics. B, they are 2 wings of the same shitty bird. They are the same. And how many Republicans right now are working in league with the Democrats to diminish your God-given constitutionally protected rights? So if you're one of those people that just votes down the party line, I would politely suggest you pull your head out of your ass and readjust your OODA loop and start actually orienting on what's happening. Don't just observe, orient on what's happening. All this to say, resistance, many people talking about resistance these days. Resistance to tyranny is obedience to God. Amen. You can't affect resistance without resilience. And resilience is your ability to be as independent from the system as possible. Your own food, your own water, your own security, your own shelter, your own communications, your own electrical grid, electrons, your own intelligence networks, your own logistics, your own agriculture, yours, you and your people. That's resilience. See, here's the thing, door-to-door confiscation, I don't think they're gonna go door-to-door to confiscate anything. I think food is gonna get so hard to get that many, many millions of people will happily trade in their firearms at the collection point at every Walmart in North America, or Kroger, or ShopRite, or HEB, or whatever. A&P, I think they're out of business. You will happily trade in those guns for a loaf of bread and a dozen eggs, because you can't get it any other way. Or when the WPA and the CCC or whatever it was comes back, these party affiliated work programs to support people that don't have a job, don't have income during the next economic depression that is coming. And you need to sign up. Oh, well, Mr. Smith, we show right here that you're a concealed carry holder and that you've bought 14 firearms in the last decade. We're going to need you to go ahead and turn those in so we can get you on the rolls here, so that we can get you your work program status updated, so that you can get your bucket of gruel. See, because now cost-benefit analysis, thinking the way my head works, it's way more difficult for them to come to you. It's so much easier for you to come to them. And then what happens? Some type of legislative mandate that says anybody after XYZ date found in possession of XYZ hardware will be considered a criminal. Now with the stroke of a pen, you're the lawless one. Possible? For sure. Probable? Maybe. The way things are headed, I'm going to go with a hard maybe, 50-50 chance. So, one cannot resist without resilience. If you're not building your resilience now, don't even talk about resistance. Shut the hell up about resistance. I had some guy email me trying to rebuke me for some of the things that I said about the common American militiamen that he didn't like. I don't care, because my experience with the militia has been it's a bunch of dudes playing dress up that have very poor tactics and no resilience. And maybe your militia's super squared away. Cool. In which case, be the light, shine that on everybody else there trying to do the things. But the vast majority of the people that I run into who are into that just want to play G.I. Joe in the woods. They have no resilience. They have no resilience at all. No resilience, no resistance. Remember that. Resistance operating concept, Otto Fiala. Resistance operating concept, Otto Fiala. Read the book, Onboard the Information. Now, if you're one of those chubs that jumps off when it's time to talk about how to support the show, beat feet, have a blessed day, shalom, get out of here. For the rest of y'all who understand that there's some value that we're bringing here for free for you on YouTube, if you'd like to support the show, patreon.com, there's a link down below. Additionally, refugemedical.com. Refuge is my company. I'm the founder and CEO. I also draw $0.00 salary from refugemedical.com. Our mission statement: to save lives while in service to the Father's kingdom and experiencing the abundance of His provision and blessing. 42 lives saved today. Handmade, made in America, guaranteed forever, exceeds military specification. If you can find a better kit, I'll buy it from you, because they don't exist. Bear Facts are back in stock. That'll last today, maybe through the end of the week. Certain colors: black, gray, OD green, multicam, and red with reflective striping, back in stock, meaning they're under our roof, they're shipping fast. If you've wanted a Bear Fact or you need another one, today's the day. Go get it. Your promo code for free shipping is Bear Nation. Get you free shipping on everything in the store. The wound care buckets, postpartum bucket, birthing bucket, all in stock. Smash and crash kits, stomp bags, mini stomps, Mac 4s, Mac 8s, all in stock. Adventure kits in stock. Bleeding control kits in stock. Components in stock. Somebody said, hey, I wanted to get a tourniquet from you on the components page and I couldn't get it. You know why? Because every tourniquet I can get right now is going in a kit. Because as I mentioned earlier, I am in direct competition with the Defense Logistics Agency. I don't have spare tourniquets to sell onesies, twosies, so the ones that I do have are going in kits. Somebody said, hey, can I get some Quick Clot? Sure can. Buy a Bear Fact. No, I just want Quick Clot. Me too. I just want Quick Clot. Best of luck. Buy a Bear Fact. That's the situation we're in right now. And don't say I haven't warned you, because we've been talking about it for years. refugemedical.com. If it's on the store, it's in stock, shipping fast. We're not selling anything we don't have under our roof that we can't lay our hands on. Next, refugetraining.com. You need to know how to use this stuff. New classes have just been added to the store at refugetraining.com. As always, there's links in the description. There's a new classes up in Indiana. So if you're in Indy, go check that out. Indiana class is up, or if you're near Indy, hey Bear, when are you coming to? Go to the nearest class, refugetraining.com, find the nearest class. So new class is up in Indiana. We love Indiana. We've always done well in Indiana. Always great people come to class in Indy. So new class is up in Indiana. New class is up in Waco at the same facility where we did our essential responder class, responder 1, 2, and 3. The last time we were in Waco, Tiger Valley, awesome facility. Great place to train and learn and get smoked. So if you saw the responder 3 video that I posted, that was shot at Tiger Valley in Waco, Texas, and that's the same facility that we're going back to. So if you're in Houston or San Antonio or Austin or hell Dallas, just hop in the car and drive a couple hours and go to Waco. There's also classes in Dallas. There's also a few slots left in Philly. So if you're in the Northeast, the farthest north and the farthest east that I'm going is Philadelphia. Because my business, my decision. So if you're in New York, come to Philly. If you're in Jersey, come to Philly. If you're in Connecticut, come to Philly. If you're in Boston, come to Philly. Well, that's a 7-hour drive. You know how long it took us to get to Philly? 2 days, homie. All right, so meet us not even halfway. Meet us 90% of the way, okay? So there's new classes up at refugetraining.com. Your promo code there is BearNation for 5% off all classes. You need to learn how to use this stuff. There is no resistance without resilience, and your opportunity to build resilience, that window is closing due to supply chains, the weakening of the US dollar, the unavailability of fuel, the unavailability of product. If you're not doing the things right now, and I'm not encouraging you to go buy a bunch of shit and not know how to use it, but food, fuel, backup generation, water purification, standard capacity magazines, ammunition, nods, plants, greenhouses, livestock, seeds, building materials. None of that's going to get any cheaper or any more available anytime in the near future. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a blessed day.